To talk more about the Russia in Ukraine conflict, we have joining us now from the U.S. state of Indianapolis to discuss this situation and the international strategies of intervention. A global affairs analyst, Kunle Falowo, welcome to TVC News. Tell
Hi,
us,
thank you for
as we
having me.
begin this conversation now, what are your thoughts on this lingering conflict in Ukraine, especially from the human rights angle?
Yes, definitely. The war in Ukraine is far from over, as we're starting to see that it's becoming more escalation every single day, and it's really unfortunate. And then a lot of international, global analysts and people generally are starting to look at what other ways can we recommend to douse the tension, or more like continue to help salvage the remaining remnants of what is left of Ukraine. If you look during the past few weeks, you will observe that the Chinese strongman Xi Jinping traveled to Russia to pay a visit to him. And by all experiences and by all calculations, this doesn't really seem great, because we're looking at possibility of another, having to join more alliances and to continue with the war. If you're finding Russia and China have talks, and that's pretty not very encouraging to the international community. Having said that, we're also looking at the possibility of other international alliances on the side of the Ukraine. The European Union are continuing with their efforts to help Ukraine finance this war, and a lot of people have termed this war as a proxy war, which really is, if you look at it. But as far as it goes, it's a systematic way of telling Russia that you cannot destabilize Europe as it is. So how is this going to end? It's really not very visible in the foreseeable future right now.
But what do you really make of, for the Russian side, they call the Chinese intervention a peace plan. But for other observers now, they say that this deepening ties between Russia and China might just be a smokescreen. What do you really make of this twist?
In the recent report that I just listened to, it's very accurate when it's referred to as the marriage of convenience. It's really, really true, because if you look at China, China is not friends with the United States. They're sworn enemies, and economic-wise, China is the largest economy, second largest economy in the world. U.S. is the first. So there's a stiff competition between U.S. and China. Having said that, China has seen a friend in Russia because they share the same interest. Now, when you look at the United States, they share the same interest with geopolitical zones of the European Union. So the European Union, being that Russia has really destabilized the economy of the European Union, which is pretty a big deal as far as controlling gas and petroleum products. Europe used to be a big reliance. They used to rely heavily on Russia, and now the Russian president and the Russian oligarchs have kind of manipulated them and had wrongly forecasted that this will be a leverage for them to bow to the demands of the Russians. But unfortunately, the European Union are starting to see that if Russia gets away with this atrocity, it would spell doom for the entire of Europe. And we're looking at possibility of having more escalations and war from other aggressors or potential aggressors, from bigger countries to smaller countries. And then, so on the long run, we're looking at seeing other ways of making sure that this comes to a logical conclusion, these crises goes away because it's not going anywhere near well for Russians and Ukrainians. To be honest with you, people are constantly dying, and people are losing their livelihood, and it's really really unfortunate. I will also add that the International Criminal Court has issued a warrant of arrest for the Russian president, and all of this is going into the calculation of the international community really weighing in and trying to kind of gag Russia to make sure that it doesn't continue to do what it's doing currently, Russia in Ukraine.
All right, Kunle Falowo, we'll leave it at this point because of time constraints, but we thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on the conflict in Ukraine.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.